Well, hello everyone. It's John Vandermeulen with the National Promotions and Marketing Committee, Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War. And we are doing a series of interviews with past Commanders-in-Chief. I have with us today Bruce Frail, the 136th Commander-in-Chief of the National Order. Bruce Frail, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for asking me.
So we're actually here in Nashua, New Hampshire for our National Encampment 2023. And Bruce will be passing the baton, so to speak, to his successor. And so it's important that we have this interview and have this as a matter of a historical interview for future administrations. So, Commander-in-Chief Frail is a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. He's a historian, a genealogist, and an independent researcher of the National Archives in Washington, D.C., where he researches records related to all U.S. military conflicts. He served as the National Graves Registration Officer, Junior Vice Commander-in-Chief, Senior Vice Commander-in-Chief, and finally, our Commander-in-Chief. Well, we have some questions for you. The first question is, if you could tell us a little bit about your Union veteran ancestors. I'm curious to know, what can you tell us about who they were, what units they served in, and how did you discover them?
All right, I have one.
Okay.
Okay, his name is Hugh Frail. Okay, spelled F-R-I-E-L, whereas my name is spelled F-R-I-A-L.
Okay.
Okay, the name was changed very early on in our family history. The story that we had in my family was that we were 100%, well, my father was 100% English, which precluded me from being a lineal member. So I and my son Benjamin, we joined as associates.
Okay.
Okay, and then we hooked up with one of the other brothers, and he's like, well, let's do some research. And I had always listened to family law. Well, family law was correct and wrong.
Okay.
Okay, at the same time. Turns out that in 1853, Hugh and his wife, Ellen, okay, got a divorce.
Huh.
Because their fourth child was not Hugh's. Okay. Their fourth child was the son of the man that Ellen was working for.
Okay.
So that caused a divorce, not only between Ellen and Hugh, but also between Thomas Harold and his wife, the gentleman who fathered the fourth child.
Okay.
So in 1854, Hugh Sr., okay, got on a boat, left Ireland because he was Irish,
Okay.
okay, and sailed to the United States to join his brother James in Pennsylvania, leaving behind his 3 children, who he was going to bring over once he got established.
Okay.
There were 2 girls and a son, Hugh Jr.
Okay.
So before he could get established and bring them over, the Civil War broke out. And as a good new American, he joined a Pennsylvania unit, the 67th Pennsylvania,
Wow.
and he was assigned to Company E.
Okay.
Now, at first, the 67th was stationed in, I believe it was Camp Parole, as camp guards. And then they got mobilized into the field, and they had a new officer in charge of the regiment, who proceeded within the first conflict to surrender his regiment.
Wow.
Almost immediately.
Okay.
Half of them said, no, we're leaving. we're
Okay.
falling back. The other half, it was already too late.
Okay.
Hugh was in the half that it was too late.
Okay.
Okay, so as we like to say, he summered on Belle Isle for 5 weeks until he was exchanged.
He was exchanged?
Yes, it was still early enough in the war where they were still exchanging prisoners.
Okay.
Okay, so after he was exchanged, paroled and then exchanged, he went back to the 67th under new command and fought in several battles, including an up to Battle of the Wilderness.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
In May 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th of 1864. On May 5th, his rifle exploded in his face.
Ooh.
Okay. Blinding him in one eye and pretty much deafening him. He continued to fight until captured on May the 6th.
So he was captured for a second time.
Because he was not going to surrender this time.
Wow. Wow.
And this particular time, he went to Andersonville.
Wow.
He was approximately 140 some odd pounds when he was captured. And he was 84 pounds when he was finally released from Andersonville.
Wow, he got all the way to the end after when they started releasing.
Well, he basically when they had the march to Camp Lawton to get away from Sherman's troops, all right, he went on the march, survived the march, and it wasn't really just a march; they took trains too. Okay, but when it came time for them to move back from Camp Lawton back to Andersonville, the Confederates left him at Camp Lawton as one of the dead. Okay, because they figured he wasn't going to make it, so they just left him there and basically paroled him. And that was in December of 1864. He went to West Philadelphia, Sutterville, or Sutter, one of the general hospitals in West Philadelphia. And he remained there until that general hospital closed in 1871.
Huh.
He met a woman there, Lovina. I don't know her last name. And they got married.
Huh.
And he proceeded to have another 5 children.
Okay.
4 girls and a boy. That family is still thriving in Westchester County, Pennsylvania. And interestingly enough, one of the sons is a firefighter. And I was a firefighter.
Wow.
So out of my 4 great-granduncles and my great-grandfather, 3 of them were also firefighters. But basically, with Hugh staying in England, Thomas Harold actually adopted them because after Hugh Sr. was captured the first time, word got back to them that he was killed. So he adopted the kids, let them keep their name, and to make life easier for them, created a provenance and created a coat of arms to make them English. And that's where the 100% English came from. And as time went on, the family lore stuck. And that's what made it hard to research back, was because of that change. Okay? And my father actually finally believed me when I had a DNA test done and showed that I was more Irish than I was English.
Wow.
But so that's basically about my relative.
Wow. What an amazing story. I had an ancestor that was captured and sent to Andersonville as well. He did not survive it. Okay, so Bruce, next question for you is, what drew you to the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War?
It was actually my son and his interest in history.
Okay.
And he was interested in the Civil War. We met a man by the name of Greg Merker, who told us about the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War. And Ben pretty much wanted to go to one of their meetings and find out what it was about. At that particular time, I was like, okay, well, my son wants to do it, so let's do it.
Okay.
I have always had an interest in the Civil War. I was lucky when I was in the Marine Corps. I was stationed in North Carolina for a good period of time.
Okay.
And Civil War's all around you.
Sure.
As a Northerner, you're looked at a little differently.
I imagine so.
But we went to the meeting, and Ben asked when we got home, he's like, I'd really like to join. You know, and he asked me if I would join with him. So we went to the next meeting, and we had made arrangements to let them know that we wanted to join. We wanted to join as associates. And the SUVCW, the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War, we have a ratio. You can only take in so many associates to every lineal you have.
Okay.
So you have to have 2 lineals
A ratio.
for every 1 associate that you bring in. And that's at the camp level. Okay, and I'll get into more of that later on in your questioning. But so Ben joined, and he got sworn in first. He signed the paperwork first, okay, because he wanted to do it. And then I joined and signed the paperwork 5 minutes after him. So in his mind, he is the senior Frail in the SUVCW.
Well, he's got a point.
I have to keep reminding him that, yes, you are senior to me as far as seniority in the Sons, but I outrank you. So, and we have a good time.
Yeah.
And we actually, upon the death of my wife's father, we received his death certificate. And on the death certificate, we found some information that led to unknown past of Jim Handy's life, my father-in-law, which led us to 2 more relatives on the Handy side of the family, my wife's side, that Ben can claim also as his. And they both fought with New York regiments. I believe one of them was, for part of his career, was with the U.S. sharpshooters.
Huh.
I believe it was the first U.S. sharpshooters. He could tell you much more. He's done a lot more research on them.
Okay.
But just goes to show, even after we found one, we found another 2 for him. And at that time, my other son, TJ, joined the Sons. So, and my daughter, Amber, joined the auxiliary. And as you're aware, the auxiliary is the auxiliary to the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War.
And they are supporting your local camp in Rhode Island?
Yes.
Okay.
My camp is Major Sullivan Ballou, Camp 3.
Okay.
After the major of the 2nd Rhode Island who was killed in battle at Bull Run.
Okay.
The first Bull Run. And their auxiliary is Sarah Ballou, named after his wife.
Wow.
So, if you're not aware, and some people may be, Major Sullivan Ballou wrote a very heartfelt letter to his wife a couple of days before he died.
I was going to say, was that the letter in that old PBS?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. That was a great letter.
So, and to our knowledge, the original letter is buried with Sarah.
Wow.
So, and she's buried on the side of most of the remains of Sullivan.
My goodness.
And I say most of the remains because his body was dug up and desecrated from his grave by the Confederates. So, and it's a shame. His head was never found.
Wow. Having heard the reading of that letter, what a great writer he was, too.
Well, he was an attorney, self-taught, and he was also he was studying every night there were reports of him studying in his tent, military tactics. He wanted to be the best leader he could be for his men. And from the reports that we've read and that we've seen about the battle and his death, he was a very brave man and led his troops honorably into battle.
Wow. I can see why your campus named has him as your namesake.
Yeah.
Very good. I want to ask you about your work as the Commander-in-Chief this last year, and wondered if you could give us a few examples of what some accomplishments have been for the last year.
Well, some accomplishments, I would hope, are to create a redundancy within the order so that our officers, if something should happen to one of them, there's a replacement that can take over. That's one of the things that we've been able to get into process.
Okay.
One of the others is we're working on lineage documentation. As a lineage organization, we're required by law to have a documentation of the lineage of our members.
Lineal members, yeah.
Of our lineal members. We have to be able to prove, if questioned on it, that we have the right number of associates for the right number of lineal,
Okay.
and that we don't exceed 49%.
Okay.
Okay, of associates at any meeting. Some of the things that we're going to be pushing for at this encampment are a continuation of that. But one of the things that I want to try to get put through is, instead of counting the lineal to associates at the camp level, to count them at the national level. Okay, if we're able to count them at the national level, we would be able to increase our membership, all right, by 2,355 brothers.
Wow.
According to our last lineal standards.
Sounds like that would be a good thing to do.
Well, I believe it would be, and we would still be maintaining the correct ratio within the camps for meetings, and within the departments for meetings. If we exceeded the 49%, then the junior members, the junior associates, would forfeit their vote until that percentage
Ratio
dropped.
change, yeah. Yeah.
That way, we're still honoring the intent of the Constitution and regulations.
Sure. Okay.
So, and if that happens, I think we're able to get a much stronger order, much stronger membership, and we'll have brothers who really want to be part, not just because they're lineal, okay, but because they actually love the SUVCW, the Civil War. They would love our mission, okay. We've done remarkable things as far as graves, cemetery work. That's my primary concern is cemetery restoration, identification of unknown soldiers. My company and my camp, through 2005, have been able to identify 21 completely unknown soldiers and get them proper burial, military services, and things of that nature. And as a camp, we're just about at 1,000 headstones that we've repaired or reset.
Well, isn't that what we're all about, is making sure they're not forgotten?
And that's one of the things that I've been pushing during my term.
Wow.
Is to have brothers do that. We just recently got notified of a cemetery that was devastated in New Jersey. And
yes.
It's the home of a lot of U.S. colored troops. That doesn't matter to us. They're men.
Right.
They're our brothers.
They are.
Okay, and I am very proud of how fast that camp, the Department of New Jersey,
rallied around that effort.
Other camps rallied around it, to the point that we were able to get the 2 major trees that collapsed. Okay, we're not talking 5-6 foot trees. We're talking these were about 40 feet tall.
Ooh, big ones.
Yeah. We've got a company that has signed on to remove them free.
Wow, isn't that great?
Okay, so the money that we've been collecting is going to be able to be centered on resetting the stones. Okay, doing the grounds over again.
Sure.
Because a lot of the grounds were ripped up
Sure.
and torn up. A lot of the topsoil was eroded away.
Sure.
So we're well under our way to be able to get, and that makes me proud.
Oh, of course.
You know,
It's another great example. This is what we're all about.
yeah, it is. It definitely is. You know, there's a lot of things, but the biggest thing that I have to really, you know, say is that we're working as a team.
Okay.
Okay, and I strive that every day with every talk I have with everybody. Is it's not me, it's not I, it's us, it's we.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And we've really been embracing that, and I'm very proud of the brothers for that.
Very good. Well, you're absolutely right about that. Absolutely right about that. Okay, so moving on to the next question. As you look towards the future in our order, obviously several wheels are set in motion. We're doing a lot of things, right? Membership is important to us.
Yes.
What would you say could be done to attract new members to our National Order?
We have to be open and communicate with them. We have to reach out on their level. They have a different way of communicating nowadays.
Sure.
We have to be able to take our youth, like my son, okay, and his friends, and expand on that to reach out to their friends and their community.
Mm-hmm.
We have to respect them, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And we have to make sure that they see that there are things that they can have values for in life. All right, it's not just all a matter of, you know, computers, video games, and I'm not putting any of that down.
Sure.
It's just the new generation.
It is.
And I wish I had the skills in some of those areas. I really do. But we need to embrace that. One of the things that we're going to be initiating this year at this National Encampment is a sons and grandsons initiation by the Commander-in-Chief.
Wow.
We're going to dedicate a time where people who want their grandsons or sons brought into the order can be sworn in at a National Encampment by the sitting Commander-in-Chief.
Wow, what a great idea.
So, and hopefully that will
Well, that'll be a big deal.
Hopefully that will be continued, and we'll get a lot of people who wish to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Only time will tell. But that's what we have to do.
Sure.
We have to gear our programs to be welcoming to the youth. We have to get the information out to the schools. My son has been very active in that. I've used to help him quite a bit. We used to do a program in Maryland, and we're from Rhode Island, where we went down every year and did all the 4th grade. And we did that for several years, and Ben still does it in several schools in Rhode Island. They actually reach out to him every year.
Wow.
to do it.
He's got that reputation established.
Yep.
Then.
And so that's what we got to get out there. We got to get the brothers doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to get older brothers and younger brothers together to work as teams to go into the schools. Okay. We did that one particular year in the Department of Rhode Island, where in Coventry, Rhode Island, we had brothers on one particular day go to every single school and do a program in every school in Coventry.
Wow.
And then we had a 3-day expo where we had displays, educational classes. We even brought in 4 1860 or thereabouts, 1860, 1870 baseball teams, and they did a tournament in their that age attire.
Who won?
One of the teams. But a lot of the kids had a great time. And it's kind of difficult in today's atmosphere to be able to do that, because we've found that some schools have shut down us, the SUVCW, altogether because of the association with the Civil War. Civil War, as the way I look at it, was a necessary evil. Okay? And I know that there were reasons why men in the Confederacy fought besides preserving slavery, but that was one of the big parts, and we were fighting to end that.
Mm-hmm. We did.
We were fighting to end that. We were fighting to bring the Union back together.
Yes.
We were fighting to get this country back together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what our relatives, our ancestors were all about.
Sure.
They formed the Grand Army of the Republic, which in turn and change formed us.
Yes.
Okay, in 1881. One of the things that the Grand Army of the Republic did was they were always welcome to any veteran that fought for the Union cause. It didn't matter what color you were, it didn't matter what country you were from, it didn't matter what language you spoke. There was a home for you in the Grand Army of the Republic. That is the same as the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War.
It is.
There is a home for everybody. You don't have to have a relative, okay? Like my son and I, we didn't have relatives that we knew of until a little bit later on.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you felt just as much a part of the.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, and it's a great feeling being able to bring somebody in, seeing the joy in their face. Sometimes it was sensational for me because I travel a lot during my term.
Sure.
I had the pleasure of going to a camp, the Francine Camp number 7 in New Jersey, the Department of New Jersey. And I never let people know when I was coming.
Oh, really? You just showed up?
Show up. And there were only a couple brothers in that camp that knew who I was, okay, or that knew me personally. When I went to the camp, to the meeting, I did not wear my badge. I did not wear my jacket identifying me as the commander-in-chief. I walked in as somebody just off the street.
Yeah.
That camp opened its arms to me, not knowing who I was. That's exactly what I want every brother to do.
Absolutely.
Okay, with every guest of every meeting. Okay, and they were quite shocked
to learn who you were.
When
I imagine
so. When one of their officers showed up, and he's like, "Oh my God, do you guys know who this is?"
Wow.
So,
yep, having a welcoming attitude. Our arms are reaching out to people. Absolutely. Well, I know one of the things that you and I have discussed in the past is the challenge of what can we do to do a better job at retaining members. I mean, we have challenges associated with distance, challenges associated with involvement or lack of involvement, various components that contribute to that problem. But curious to know what your thoughts are on what can we do.
Well, we do have some situations that need to be improved upon, and I believe that we are getting there. You mentioned travel, distance. One of the things COVID, as nasty as it was, did for this organization was it forced us to move into the technological era. And it made the use of internet-based video conferencing much more easily accessible to our brothers. So we're actually utilizing that now for brothers of distance and brothers that have difficulty driving at night, because you may be able to drive during the day, but you might not be able to drive at night.
Virtual attendance.
Virtual attendance. Virtual meetings. We need to respect each other, okay? more so than what we already are. We need to help out. We need to reach out. We need to let the brothers know that they're part of an organization.
Yes.
We need to give them something to do, if they so choose to
Sure.
do that. We need to have the activities available. And we understand that there are some camps out there that enjoy getting together for the camaraderie.
Of course.
And the discussion of the Civil War, and don't get into the field that much. That's fine. That's what that camp wants to do.
Yeah.
Okay? It's hard to retain brothers who want to be active in a camp like that. Okay?
You know, it's interesting to hear you say that because, as you know, I'm from Texas, Houston in particular, and the COVID time frame gave that same challenge to us, and we started doing virtual meetings that were a hybrid of both in-person meeting and those that can attend virtually. So we set up the equipment, and lo and behold, we've seen brothers that we hadn't seen for a long time.
You're 100% correct. We brought back into our fold a past commander-in-chief who had great difficulties getting to meetings because he was from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. With the use of the virtual meetings and things of that nature, he's been much more active.
Sure.
Okay, and with that, he's actually been much more active at the national level as well, again, which is great because he's a good man. He offers a lot of expertise.
So it sounds like what you're saying is one of the things that can be done is try to embrace the technology of virtual meetings.
Oh, sure.
Because it will, otherwise, if people are disengaged, or the challenge of distance or nighttime driving or things of that nature, now you can overcome that obstacle and hopefully keep the connection there.
Right, and when you have a camp that actually gets out and does stuff, gets into the field, our camp does cemetery restoration work. Predominantly, that's what we do. We do other things as well. Most camps get out to cemeteries and flag graves, clean graves. There's a lot of work done of that nature. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of work done in locating records, preserving them, digitizing them.
Of course.
Things of that nature. That's one of the things that we can get the youth involved in.
Yep.
We have my sons, my daughter, when they were young, okay, even before we joined the SUVCW, we're out flagging graves. We're out taking care of graves.
Yeah.
Okay. Benjamin's son, my two grandsons, have been doing it since they can walk.
Huh.
They look forward to it every Memorial Day. Those two boys, okay, come Friday afternoon, are going to be sworn in by their grandfather, the commander-in-chief.
Wow. What a proud moment that's going to be. Congratulations. That's really cool.
So,
excellent. How old are they?
6 and 8.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yep.
Very, very
it's
good.
Outstanding, and that's what we have to do. We got to get that. Again, in New Jersey, we have a camp who has put together an Instagram-style virtual museum.
Yeah.
And we're using that as a template to see how it's working.
Yes.
So we might be able to expand it on a national basis. And we're hoping that will bring in the youth. Okay, and when I say the youth, I'm talking anywhere from, we take kids from 6 years old up. Okay. I include youth from that 6-year-old age.
Wow.
Okay, all the way to 35.
So,
because let's face it, I'm 61, so
yeah,
everybody's younger to me.
Help me remember again. The junior member, the age range for junior member is 6 to 13, and you can become a regular member at 14. At 14, okay. Yep. Wow, that's great. Well, Bruce, I have just one last question for you. Well, hopefully it's the last question. In the time that we've worked together in the promotions and marketing, we've also done some work together with Memorial University.
Correct.
And I know that that's something that's been very important to you and to your son Benjamin as well.
Mm-hmm.
What word of advice could you give to our viewers, members of the order, wherever they may be, about the importance of Memorial University and how that can be of value to them?
Memorial University is going to become our legacy. Okay, Graves registration is our current most important connection with the public.
Okay.
We want Memorial University to be a tool like that to the public and to the brothers within the order. We are putting together educational programs for the general public, for our brothers to learn different positions so that they're actually knowing what they're signing up for when
Sure.
they say, yes, I'll run.
Right.
Okay, this way they can go through the classes on Memorial University, get the certificate, okay, that says, yes, you're prepared to run for that office now. Okay, we are four major components of Memorial University. That is the Grand Army of the Republic,
Yes.
the SUVCW, the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War,
Yes.
and the Allied Orders. The fourth is actual education components about the American Civil War. Okay, not Union skewed, not Confederate skewed, actual. What we can put together that is the most actual accounting of what happened, okay, is what we're projecting on Memorial University. Because part of our mission is to teach the true history of the Civil War.
Uh-huh.
Okay? And you've got people on the north side and on the south side that skew it in their favor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You can't skew it to get history, to learn history properly.
Yep.
That's one of the things that we're pushing for in that.
Well, our ancestors deserve an accurate historical account.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Plus,
Yeah.
our students do.
Yeah.
You know, and it's freely open to everybody.
Yeah.
And each of those components teaches in that category. Now, one of the things I haven't touched on a lot is the Allied Orders. The Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War is actually an Allied order
Yes.
of the Grand Army of the Republic. There are four others,
There are.
okay?
Yep.
There are the auxiliary, which we've talked about, the auxiliary to the Sons of Union Veterans of the
Yes.
Civil War. There's the daughters of Union Veterans of the Civil War,
Right.
1861 to 1865.
Yeah.
There are the ladies of the Grand Army of the Republic,
Right.
and there's the Women Relief Corps.
Relief Corps. Yeah.
Okay, where we are dedicated to the men, those other four are dedicated to the women.
Of course.
And we work as a team, again, that team, effort.
Indeed.
To be able to get things done.
It's interesting you should say that. Down in Houston for Memorial Day, there's a cemetery with several Union veterans that are buried there. And we have a nice, close working relationship with not only the auxiliary to our local camp, but also there's a Daughters of Union Veterans tent that's there locally. And we are collaborating and working together on things all the time. There's much value in doing it that way. Mm-hmm. There really is.
And to be quite honest with you, we couldn't get a lot of the things that we want to accomplish done without their assistance.
Indeed. Indeed.
So.
Well, Bruce, I thank you for serving as the Commander-in-Chief and the other things that you do. Is there any last word you'd like to give to us for this interview?
Thank you very much for listening, taking the time out of your busy lives, and I hope to see you at a meeting sometime.
Very good. Thank you again.
Thank you.